Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Tommi Larsen at Secured Investment Corp. I am the Senior Investment Consultant here, and I just wanted to get on today, join all of you, and go over some mortgage note evaluating properties that we have that are currently performing. Just want to give everybody a little bit of time to be able to hop on here and join us live. But I also wanted to let you know if during the presentation at all you have any questions, feel free to drop that in the questions or chat box throughout the webinar here, and I'll make sure to acknowledge those at the end. So thank you for joining us, and let's just go ahead and get started. First, I'll need to get through this disclaimer, so please bear with me while I read this to you. Disclaimer. Past performance is not an indicator of any future results. All investments contain risk and may lose value. Any historical returns, target returns, expected returns, or probability projections may not reflect actual future performance. Investors should not rely on forward-looking statements because such statements are inherently uncertain and involve risks. While the data we use from third parties is believed to be reliable, we cannot ensure the accuracy or completeness of data provided by investors or third parties. We do not make any representations as to the accuracy or completeness of the information contained on this presentation and undertake no obligation to update the information. Neither Secured Investment Corp nor any of its affiliates are registered investment advisors or broker-dealers and do not provide investment advice. No communication from Secured Investment Corp or its affiliates through this website or any other materials is intended to be or should be construed as investment, tax, legal, financial, investment, tax, financial, accounting, or legal advice. There is no assurance that any strategy will succeed or that any program will meet its investment objectives. Secured Investment High Yield Fund 2, LLC is open to accredited investors only through an offering made in accordance with Regulation D, Rule 506C of the Securities Act of 1933 as amended. In purchasing securities through a 506C offering, we must verify any participating investor's status as an accredited investor. Per Rule 501 of Regulation D, Circle of Wealth Fund 3 LLC has filed offering circulars and may make additional filings with the Securities and Exchange Commission covering its current offering or membership interests. Each investor should carefully consider the risk factors and other information discussed in the qualified offering circulars, including any amendments before purchasing membership interest. The publicly filed offering circular may be found here at circleofwealth.com/SEC. So again, thank you so much for sitting with me through that. If you would like to join along, or if you want to write this down for later, we will be going on our website, securedinvestmentcorp.com, to look over some of the notes that we have available. Let me see here. So when you actually pull up our website, I apologize here, I didn't have this on the home page, but I am just looking at our available mortgage notes. And I'm going to go ahead and just look for a deal on here. I actually wanted to go over with you today. Let me see if I can find it really quick. Okay, let's see here. So what I'm going to do really quick is I'm actually going to go ahead and sort the targeted rate of return to less than 10% because I want to go over a riskier versus a non-riskier deal today to give people some ideas of what to kind of be looking for based off of your risk adversity. So if you're actually on the mortgage note page of our website, again, that's securedinvestmentcorp.com, you can kind of play around with this and select by state, targeted rate of return, and loan amount. So right now I'm looking for something that is less than 10%. Specifically, I wanted to look for this 9867 17th Street in Zion, Illinois. So I'm going to go ahead and click that really quick and pull it up. So if you go ahead and open it up, you can take a look at the interior of these properties. This one, obviously, you can see it has some really good bones to it, probably just needs a little bit of a touch up on the property. But again, most of these are going to be rehab deals, and you being the lender on this property, obviously know that you're not doing the rehab on this, you're just lending on it. So looking at this, I'm going to start scrolling down here. And the first thing you're going to see is an investment summary. So this is going to give you some quick highlights about the loan that we have available here. The first thing I see, and this is actually what initially caught my eye with this specific property, was that this borrower has paid Kogo Capital off 9 times. So if anybody is a brand new lender here or brand new investor and they're not super familiar with our company, Cogo Capital is actually the private money lending arm of our company with Secured Investment Corp. It's its own separate entity, but we do a lot of business together. And so what this tells me is that this borrower has come and borrowed funds from our private money lending arm, Cogo Capital, several times. They've paid us off multiple times in the past. So what you're doing is putting yourself in the shoes of being the bank. Visualize you're going to the bank, you're asking them for a mortgage loan or a car loan, and they're going to ask you all kinds of different questions. They want to know your credit score, they want to know your income, they want to know if you have any experience in certain areas when you're buying investment properties. So that's what we're doing here, is we're looking at ourselves as the bank. And the number one thing for me being a bank is that this person has borrowed money from us multiple times. So that tells me they're very likely to continue to make their payments and continue to be a great borrower. So that's the number one thing I like here. Moving forward, I see that this borrower also has a great credit score. 731 is the average credit score to this borrower, which obviously tells you that they make their payments on anything else that they borrow their money on. The borrower lives in the same state as the property, they have extensive experience, and then right down here where it says renovations to be completed, you're just going to see some quick highlights about what they plan to do to renovate this property. Now, please keep in mind, you're just seeing some quick highlights here. If you want to see more about this property, you can always scroll up a little bit and it'll say download loan package. So this download loan package that you receive when you're on our website is actually going to be a much more condensed version of the loan package we have available. And the reason being is because if you're interested in looking at the deeper loan package, we do need to sign a one-time sign non-disclosure agreement so that you can access all of the information in there. And a lot of that will have sensitive information about our borrowers. We obviously don't want anybody sharing that, so we don't list it on our website, and we just save that for the people that sign a non-disclosure. If you do want to look deeper into a loan package at this time and you would like to speak with somebody about receiving a non-disclosure, the couple of ways you can do that is if you're clicked on a specific deal such as this one, you'll see this blue box to the right that says request information. You can put your contact information in there, or this leave a message box down at the bottom, and you can put your information in there, just stating real quick what you're looking to do, and myself or one of my team members will reach out to you so that we can have that conversation and get you to where you're going. Okay, so scrolling down to see the deal overview. So one thing we'll see right here is that the lien position on this loan is first lien. So what this tells me is that I'm going to be the only lender on this deal. There's not going to be a second or a third, because we do not do that here at Secured Investment Corp, holding any second or third positions. We only do first lien position deals at this time. And so that means you will be the only lender on this deal. Another thing that I really like to tell people about when you're looking at something is that the difference in purchase price and loan amount are very, very big. So you as the lender are focusing on the loan amount because the $110,500 is what you're lending in order to pick up this mortgage note. Whereas this purchase price of $62,500, this is what the borrower spent to acquire this property here in Zion, Illinois. So that's how much it actually costs to acquire the home. The market value that you'll see here of $238,000, this number is going to be based off of the after repair market value of this property. So once some rehab has been put into this deal, if they're going to sell it or if they're going to refinance it and hold it and rent it, this is what the market value of their property would be. Going down, you'll see that there's a zero down payment here. To a lot of people, especially when you're looking at yourself as the bank, this can be a little bit scary because this specific borrower doesn't have any skin in the game here. The reason that I don't necessarily see it as risky is, again, because this person has paid us off 9 times. Just basing off of what I have a gut feeling about is that historically they've made really great payments. They've paid us off so many times before. I would like to think that they'll continue with that history. And so that's why I wouldn't be as concerned about the down payment with this one. And then the next thing that is going to be a really big highlight here is that the ARV, or excuse me, the LTV of this property is 46%. So that's again where your market value and your loan amount are going to come in. So after repair, if this property is worth $238,000 and you invested $110,500 into the mortgage note of this property, then you're only lending out 46% of the actual value of this property. What does that mean? What this is going to mean to you is if you're thinking about the risk adversity and the risks that come with purchasing mortgage notes, one thing that's going to come to mind is foreclosure. And I know that's a really big, scary word for so many people, especially if you're a brand new investor and you're just getting started. Foreclosure doesn't have to be this nightmare, scary word that everybody's so worried about. And actually, a lot of times for investors, this is going to be something that's really advantageous for them. And the reason for that is because when you go through a foreclosure process and once you get everything sorted out, sometimes you'll come out at the end of the situation where you actually make more money than what you would have if your lender, or excuse me, your borrower would have continued making payments to you. Of course, again, all of this is going to be within risk adversity, and I'll get to this in a little while, but this one is going to be one of our lower risks, and you can tell that by the rate of return that you'll be receiving on this. So again, this one's going to be the lower risk deal of the two that we'll talk about today. So just always thinking of the worst case scenario. These are the highlights. Again, loan amount $110,500, LTV 46%, and they've paid us off 9 times historically. So for somebody who's not looking for something too risky, but you still want a good rate of return on your money, this is the kind of deal that you're looking for. Scrolling down, you'll see the loan term here is 12 months. So most of our loans are actually going to be anywhere from 12 to 24 months. Most of the time they'll pay off at the 12-month mark. We are originating short-term loans here. So these are going to be paying off within hopefully 2 years, but this one was originated for 12 months. Is it possible that that loan amount can be, or excuse me, the loan term can be extended? The answer is yes. So your borrower may go in here and start the rehab process and call up our servicing department, because we do service all of our loans in-house through Lake City Servicing. So Mr. Borrower calls up Lake City Servicing and says, you know, I had a couple of hiccups with the rehab process. It's actually taking a little longer than I thought. I'm going to need a 3-month extension. Lake City Servicing is going to give you a call and say, hey, Mr. or Mrs. Lender, it looks like your borrower is saying that they need a 3-month extension on their loan. How do you feel about that? Now, you as the lender have the ability to say yes or no if you would like to extend that loan. If you do extend it, just know that for every 3 months of extension that you grant, you get an extra 1% on top of your return. So actually just jumping down here real quick, the target rate of return on this is 8%. So in 12 months, if they give us a call and they need another 3-month extension, instead of getting 8% on this deal, you're going to get 9% on this deal. And they're going to be making that payment to you every single month still. So again, that loan term, that can change. As far as paying off early, they can absolutely do that as well. There are no prepayment penalties. So what's going to happen is Mr. Borrower is going to call up Lake City Servicing and say, I'm actually closing this weekend. We're selling the property. And so I'm going to be ready to pay off at the end of this week. We're, paying off 6 months early. So then Lake City Servicing is going to reach out to you as the lender and just let you know, I just wanted to give you a call and say your borrower said they're actually paying off early. They expect to close this week. We should expect the funds by next week. And if you're worried about it all of a sudden, you say, well, I don't want my $110,000 back, then that's what our team is actually here for. Investor Relations is here to make sure that your capital stays deployed and you're always earning interest. So we will also be notified about this payoff that's coming up. And we are at the duty to give you a call and go ahead and say, hey, I see that you have this payoff coming up. Did you want to redeploy? If the answer is yes, then we're going to go ahead and find you another note that's going to be in your risk adverse area. And we're going to go ahead and send information to you. And as soon as you agree to one, then we're just going to turn around and immediately redeploy that capital into another note. So you don't even have to worry about getting the funds back into your account. So going past the loan term and seeing your targeted monthly rate of return here. So you'll see this was actually already calculated for you, but just know that you can take the loan amount and then multiply it by the targeted rate of return here. So you would take 110,500 times 0.08%. And just know that all of our rates are actually annualized. So you'll take that number and divide it by 12, and that is what your monthly payment will be. Additionally, you'll subtract out $25 from that because we do have a $25 a month servicing fee. So just know that that then would be the return that you could expect to come back to you every month. Also know that for the remainder of this month, we will be running a special. It's a spring into notes special, where any notes that we have that are over $100,000, you're getting an extra 1% of return on your funds, and any notes that are $200,000 or over, you're getting an extra 2% on your return. So this 8% that you're seeing advertised here for this specific note, actually, if you decided to fund this note in the next couple of days before the end of the month, you'll be receiving 9% on that loan. So any notes that you see advertised with a specific return, go ahead and give us a call and we'll be able to give you the actual return that you should be expecting on that specific loan. So continuing to scroll down here, amount held for rehab, so you'll see that's $32,500. So we actually hold that rehab amount in an escrow account. This is not going to be written down in a large check and then immediately sent over to the borrower. We hold it in escrow and we pay it out in a draw process where that borrower is going to do little bits of work at a time, and we're going to send an inspector in to make sure everything is done and taken care of, and then we'll reimburse them for the work that they put into the rehab. As far as use of proceeds, again, they're going to purchase this property and rehab it, and so that's what the loan amount is going to be for. And the exit strategy is to refinance it to rent it out. So once they have finished the rehab, they're going to go to a bank, get a 30-year mortgage, refinance it, and pay you off so that they can actually hold this as a rental property. And this loan is expected to mature at the end of June next year. So one thing that I also like to tell people is the maturity date that's listed here on our website will actually also give you insight as to when this loan originated. So this one, I have an idea that it probably originated beginning to middle of this month, because we give them the 12 months, but there's typically a couple extra weeks on top of it that they receive for that specific loan term. So the maturity date on this one being June 30th tells me that it actually originated the month prior. So if you're somebody who maybe doesn't want to deploy capital out for a full year and you find a couple notes that you're interested in, you could scroll down and see the maturity date here. And let's say that this one was for, it could be September of this year, it could be February of next year, and you would know that there's some seasoning on this, that this specific borrower has probably been making some payments, so you can get some history out of this deal here. So again, going to that maturity date and getting an idea of where you're at if you're not interested in deploying for a full 12 to 24 months. Target rate of return, we did touch on that, but we'll go over it again real quick. 8% is what your rate of return is as advertised, but again, for the month of May, if you pick any of these notes up, you'll get an extra 1 or 2% depending on the loan amount. What I also see here is the average credit being 731, as we touched at the beginning of this being a highlight, just tells me that this borrower has great credit, and historically anywhere that they're borrowing money, they're making their payments. And then this average balance that you see right here is going to be an average balance of their account. We do require at time of funding that they have at least 3 months held in their account, 3 months of reserve, so that we know that they can at least make their first 3 payments to us. So that is some funds that we make sure that they hold off to the side. Repeat borrower, yes. Previous loans with Coco Capital, yes. Again, these are highlights because I view this as being somebody who knows that we've done business with them historically. We have a very established relationship with them, and we trust the way that they borrow funds from us. If you scroll down a little further, you'll just see a general location of the property, an address, single family resident, 3-bed, 2-bath, 1,100 square feet. So again, if you see any of these properties and you are interested, you can always click on them, fill out this blue box over here or this leave a message area, and myself or one of my teammates will reach out to you to have a conversation about that specific loan. And please also remember that if you have any questions about anything through the webinar, you can always drop that in the questions or chat box, and we'll make sure to get to that at the end here. I do want to touch on a quote unquote riskier note. So before, what we were seeing was 8% rate of return, 9% if you choose to purchase this month. And you may be thinking, I'm interested in something that has higher return than that. I don't care about the LTV. I'm not worried about their credit. I want something with higher return. We have something for anybody who's looking for something a little bit riskier, has that risk adversity involved. So right here, the reason I actually clicked on this note was because it has a 12% rate of return. So that's a pretty decent return. Our notes are usually ranging anywhere from 8 to 12%, and those 12% are going to be your quote unquote riskier borrowers. And we'll go over that here in just a moment. So I am at 10108 Shoreline Drive in Wills Point, Texas. And we can go ahead and scroll through to look at the interior of this property and get an idea that it does need some junk removal done. It's going to need a little bit of a touch up here, but nothing super serious. And then scrolling down again, we'll just take a look at the highlights of this property. So the way that I'm viewing this one as a bank or a lender here is more or less my investment strategy going into this deal is that I want a higher rate of return. I want that 12% on the dollars that I'm investing. But what kind of highlights are within a deal such as this one? So the first thing we'll see here is they have pretty decent credit. Excuse me, my screen keeps scrolling up and down on its own. So they have some pretty decent credit. It's a 664, and I actually looked into this deal previously before hopping on here, and I'm aware that the reason that their credit is 664 is actually because of utilization and not because of any poor credit history. Again, if you guys drop a message here or up in the blue box requesting one of these non-disclosure agreements, you'll be able to see the full loan package so that you can actually see this credit report so that you understand why the borrower is standing at the credit that they are. Scrolling down, I see a $4,000 payment from the borrower. It's not a whole lot, but this borrower did bring a down payment in. And me as the bank, I want to see some skin in the game so that I know they're not just walking away from a deal and they're not just walking away from solid cash for any specific reason. So this is something that intrigues me as well. And right here, it also says a borrower has an REI mentor. So they have a real estate investing mentor as well. So they have somebody that's kind of helping them through this process. And then again, rehab to be completed is just going to be some light rehab work and just some kind of details about that here. So as always at this time, we only deal in first lien position mortgage notes. And I also want to state that we sell all of our notes at par. We are not discounting any of these performing notes. They're already performing as they sit. We do all of the underwriting process. We service all of our loans in-house. So again, none of these are discounted. Loan amount here, that is the amount that you would be picking up as the lender. So you're lending out $121,000 of your funds to pick up this mortgage note for somebody who's wanting to rehab it. And the purchase price that they picked this property up at was $77,000. Once this property is rehabbed, the market value is going to be $173,000. And again, right here, you can see that down payment that they brought in. The LTV here is a little bit higher than the last one. So this one's at 70%. And we actually don't lend out any larger than 70% of the loan to value of these properties. So you'll never see it any higher than that. But again, what you're looking at for that is the market value versus the loan amount, and that's where you're getting that 70% from. Loan term, this is going to be for 12 months. So again, they're going to be making these monthly payments to you for the next year, and that target rate of return that you'll be getting every month for the next year is $1,210. Please don't forget, if that loan amount is $121,000 and you'll multiply it by the listed rate of return, which is 0.12%, and then divided by 12 is how you're getting that targeted rate of return. But of course, if you pick this up in the month of May, then you can actually go ahead and change that 12% to a 13% because this loan is over $100,000. Amount held for rehab, $24,435. So again, this is where it's coming into the loan amount a little bit, and just understanding that this is actually pretty light rehab work that they're putting in here, and we will be holding that in an escrow account. Use of proceeds here is going to be a purchase and a rehab. So again, this investor is simply just using the funds to be able to acquire the property and rehab it, and then their exit strategy is to sell. So with the market value being $173,000, they're going to make a little profit on it and be able to pay you back as the lender as well. Average credit 664, average balance is $26,000, and they are not a repeat borrower, and they do not have any previous loans with Kogo Capital. So the highlights here for somebody who is just looking for a better rate of return is going to be that 12 or 13%, depending on when you choose to fund the note. They have pretty decent credit, so when you actually go ahead and look through that loan package, you'll see that it's utilization, so they have a good pay history on anything that's on their credit as well. And then another thing I enjoyed with this also actually is you can see here on the map that where this property is located is actually pretty close to a body of water. It's a pretty decent sized lake down here in Texas. So the actual area of the property is pretty desirable as well. And again, when you're looking at these loan packages, you will see a richer values report in there. So you can see the property and alike properties around the same neighborhood area. So you get an understanding of what all of those other properties are worth as well. And one other thing that I wanted to touch on here, so this property is located in Wills Point, Texas. The last one we looked at was actually located in Zion, Illinois. So when thinking about being a new lender or somebody who's brand new to real estate, if you have or have not heard the term judicial versus non-judicial, this is another thing that I also as a bank would be looking at for lending out my funds and my risk adversity, would be that a judicial state is going to be a state that the foreclosure process is going to take a little bit longer. Again, foreclosure isn't something that happens to everybody. We have a less than 2% foreclosure rate here. And again, thinking about your risk adversity, if somebody's paying that 8, 9, maybe 10%, they're a little bit less risky of a borrower versus somebody who's paying 12, 11, maybe something higher than that. So just balancing all those things out, Texas is actually a non-judicial state, which means that that foreclosure process, if something were to happen with this deal, doesn't take nearly as long as a judicial state. And that's another thing to weigh out with that Zion, Illinois that we just went over as well, because that is in fact in a judicial state. However, weighing things out, that borrower had paid us off 9 times historically. The LTV was 46%. They had really great credit. So just kind of taking some of the things and versing them there for your risk adversity and deciding whether or not you are interested in mortgage notes. So I'm going to go over to the chat box here real quick and see if we have any questions. Let me see here. Okay. Oh my goodness. What is the significance of a first lien position loan? So the significance of that is that when you're located in the first lien position of a note, it is going to be that you are the person who is receiving the payments first, assuming that if there was a second or third on the loan. Again, with the mortgage notes that we have available, we actually don't do a second or third position. We only do first. But in the event that you did second or third lien positions, the first lien position is going to be the person who gets to call all the shots if a foreclosure process happens. So if they decide to go through foreclosure and acquire the property, there's a chance that in a second and third position, you're just not getting paid and you totally lose all the money you invested. But as a first lien position, you're always getting paid first and you get to call the shots. So that is what the significance of a first lien position is going to be in this scenario. Okay. Okay, so right here, if you're interested in discussing anything with our teammates, of course, you can always go on our website, securedinvestmentcorp.com. If you're clicked on any of those notes, you can fill out that blue box that asks for your information, or you can also always click that ask questions. Otherwise, you can scan the QR code here to schedule a call with myself or one of my team members, and then you can also click the link below to schedule an appointment. That way we can talk to you about how you can fund notes with self-directed IRAs, or what you can do with the funds that you have available if you don't have enough to purchase a mortgage note, or what kind of notes that we may have available for you to pick up as well. Just want to make sure I don't miss anything here. Okay, so the question was if we can show how to filter loans on the mortgage note page. So if we're on our website, let's just go to the home page here. So this is originally what it's going to look like when you pull up the home page of securedinvestmentcorp.com. The very first thing you'll see here is mortgage notes. So you can hit get started on that and then scroll down. And right here below these colorful boxes of available mortgage notes, non-performing loans, sold notes, and successfully paid off, you'll see that there is a way to select by a specific state, by a targeted rate of return, and by loan amount. So rate of return is going to go anything less than 10% or anything more than 10%. And then loan amount is going to be anything less than 100, between 1 and 200, and anything more than 200 as well. When you're searching through the states, just know that we have all 50 states listed here, but that does not mean that we hold a mortgage note in every single state. So sometimes you might click on one and realize we don't have a note available in that, such as Wyoming. This is just what the page is going to look like. It's not going to bring anything up because we don't have anything available there. Versus if we go to Texas, you'll see that we have an abundance of mortgage notes listed in Texas. So that's how you can go ahead and scroll around to filter out specific loans. Okay, so I'm not seeing any other questions here. I'm just going to go back to our slideshow really quick and just bring this right back up. So again, if you guys want to schedule a call with myself or one of the team members, you can scan that QR code and you can also click on our link right there as well.
The properties are listed on the website.
How long are the properties listed on the website? So the properties are listed on the website until somebody actually acquires the note. So you could see it sitting on there all through the duration of the loan if nobody actually ever picks it up. But the notes that you see on our website should always be notes that are available for purchase.
And then Victor would like to know about notes that are priced $100K and less. Is there any increase in rate of return on those notes? Less than 100K.
So any notes that are less than 100,000, we don't at this time have a promotion to increase them any higher.
And then can you talk a little bit about what is the significance of a first lien position? You covered that.
So I'll just go over it again because it did get brought up again, the significance of a first lien position. So as I stated previously, in a first lien position, basically what this means is that you are going to get paid first on the loan. Again, with the notes that we currently have available, we don't do any second or third lien positions. We just focus on the first. So if you did have a second or third position on another note or another deal somewhere, what that could mean is if there was a foreclosure that had to happen on that property, being a second or a third may mean that you do not get paid. So the first lien position gets to call the shots. They're the ones that are getting paid first. So being in the second and third lien position are going to be a little bit riskier. In a lot of places, the reason that people like to have those second and thirds is because that rate of return is so much higher. So again, the second and third position is going to be something that is for somebody who's a little more risk adverse, whereas first lien position is just going to be a bonus because again, you're getting to call the shots if you have to go through a foreclosure process, and additionally, you're getting paid first before anybody else.
Thank you. Kate also has a follow-up question about, can you explain how the investor, I'm guessing borrower in this case, makes payments on the loan?
Can you explain how the borrower makes payments on the loan? So yes, again, we have our Lake City Servicing department, and Lake City Servicing is basically the middleman so that our borrowers and our lenders don't have to be in constant communication. That's the beauty behind the passive investing side of our mortgage notes, is that you as the lender just expect to receive payments every month. And so Lake City Servicing pulls payments from a borrower's account. We hold their checking information on file, and at the first of every month, we pull their payment from them. And then Lake City Servicing makes sure that payment fully processes. They take their $25 a month servicing fee, and then they send the rest of the funds to you, whether you choose to receive it through an ACH transaction or a check.
Thank you for that. I think that is all the questions we have for today.
Okay, we have answered all of the questions. Again, if you want to schedule a call, there's our QR code, or you can always click on our website link right there. Thank you guys so much for joining us today, and we certainly hope to be speaking with you again soon.